Hello and good evening and welcome to Budget Model Railways. And I'm working on another project. This is the advantage of N for me, that they're small enough that I can have 2 or 3 on the go without any great storage issues. Also, there's quite a few ideas in this week. I'm going to talk a little bit about where some of my ideas and inspiration comes from, and a few clever bits, some slightly different ways of doing shunting. So worth sitting and keeping with us through the video this evening. So first off, this is what we're looking at in its entirety. It's another micro shunting layout. Size-wise, it's 5 inches by 32 inches. So it's a slightly different way of doing a micro layout, because normally you're trying to get them shorter. What I've done here is done it narrower. I wanted to see how narrow I could make a shunting layout. So normally you have the 2 dimensions, width and length. And then another thing I've done here is usually height isn't a problem. So here I've got a full 9.5 inches of height, which is still not a great deal, but it's to give me some different ideas. Now, what's made this possible, the width, is whereas normally I would have 3 sidings in an ingle-neck siding, shunting sort of layout, here I've only got 2. And the reason for that is I sat the other evening and I did a lot of experimentation on a 2-road shunting yard. And what I discovered was, so long as they're long enough, you can shunt quite successfully, I'll just put a couple of wagons in there, in 2 roads. You don't need the 3 necessarily, as long as your head shunt is long enough to take nearly all the wagons. Because what happens with 2, and I will do a shunting video when I get a bit further with this, is you can do 2, but you might need to get a wagon there and everything else out to get it where you want it. So you need slightly more length. Now, if I wanted to use less wagons and shorter wagons, you could take about 6 inches off this layout, but I happen to have the timber. So there's a lot of serendipity, as you know, with my layouts. These are the sides of drawers. We broke a chest of drawers up, and this is quite thick. It's about 12mm ply. But they were pretty much the right length and more or less the right width. But to give myself a little bit of room, I've added a timber at the front and timber underneath. So this is a lot more robust. This is more like a traditional... Oh, it's all right, my tripod went all wobbly there. It's a bit more like a traditional wooden layout, a lot more carpentry. But being so small, weight is really not an issue. And then what I've done is I've added some offcuts of wood as supports, and then cardboard infill, bit of old hardboard that I had kicking around. I've found that when you're putting the track down, it's better than foam board, gives you something to bite into. So it really didn't cost me very much. I didn't pay for these. The timber actually was a couple of quid from my local tip shop. I didn't pay for this or the hardboard that the back scene's made from. I was toying with ballasting it, but in the end I've used Javis ballast mat in the beige, which I quite like. I found 1 piece of back seam left. And then unfortunately here I thought I could drop the back seam down and couldn't, so I had to reattach it. So I've ended up with a seam I didn't have to have, but hey, there you go. So that's even an offcut of back seam. So it's all one of those projects really. Now another thing I got wrong, you'll see a hole here. There's a hole in the back at this end to take the controller, and I put the timber in the wrong way round. So I thought it's important to show that you get things wrong, but you have to overcome them. In fact, I ended up, let's do a video on everything I got wrong. So I glued all this down, then put the back seam on. Putting the back seam on knocked all this out. Because it's got paint on it, the glue had dried to the paint, not to the timber. So eventually I had to build this about 3 times. Quite a bit of PVA, a lot of weight, and leave it for a day, and then I was fine. The reason it's this high is so I could put a controller in. I'm really enjoying doing that, having integral controllers. And then some of you will have spotted, and some of you might have seen the Instagram post, a submarine on a model railway layout. So this goes back to the first layout me and Douglas ever started building. And we had the idea of putting a secret submarine base in it. Doug was 9 or 10 and we were having fun with it. So we bought this, it's a Revel kit. I waterlined it, painted it up nice, never finished that layout. The idea I had for this was because there isn't much depth here. So if I put a traditional river in, well, where does it go? And that made me then think, well, what could I have that comes straight out? And I remember watching a Top Gear many years ago of, I believe it was a Romanian secret submarine pen, and the Yugoslavs had the same. Quick Google, that's when the internet's wonderful, came up with a picture, and sure enough, they had these single pen submarine pens, secret submarine bases, just buried in a hillside. Not loads, just one. So there you go. This is going to be a bridge into my submarine pen, and it means I can use this submarine we've had around for about 10 years. So obviously, if we're going to have a submarine, the front of this is going to be water all through here. The idea is retaining wall, rock face down to there, and rock face the other side, and some hills in. I'm going to see if I can get a Metcalfe Nissan hut. That was a template to see if it would fit, to go in there with a bit of a loading dock. And I might put radar station, anti-aircraft gun, that sort of thing, on a little low hill in there. We'll put a tunnel mouth of some description here. So it is self-contained. We don't need a separate fiddle yard because we're just going to shunt backwards and forwards. And as I say, we'll have a bridge there. So I was really quite pleased. This was one of these that evolved. It was build the base. Well, actually, it was design the track plan, realised that it would fit this timber, wanted it raised because I knew I wanted something here to give me some more topography. It would have been much easier, obviously, just to do a standard layout on the base, chuck some buildings and hills in and call it quits. But I wanted to do something a bit different. I still got a plan to do a much simpler one that will literally be track on a base, shorter sidings, and say, look, I really think that's the minimum you could do N-gauge shunting. I think you could get it down to about 26 inches by about 4.5 inches. You'd be a little bit limited on what you could run on it and do with it, but I may well do one of those. But in the meantime, I'm having a bit of fun with this. I've made that out of cardboard. We'll have some hills. It'll take a while to do, but it'll be quite good fun then just to run. I'm going to probably just do diesels on this so that I don't have to do Cantanary. I'll see. But there we go. Something a little bit different. Not every day that you see a submarine on a model railway layout. I'm just changing the angle there a bit. There we go. And with the water and everything, that'll be an awful lot of scenic going on in what is actually quite a simple track plan. But I will do a video on shunting on just 2 sidings. Now, obviously, I'm not worrying about passengers on this, but it will be interesting to see. But as I say, it works quite well, I've discovered. Been shunting tonight on the other sort of town scene layout that I've got. This is by far one of my best shunting layouts, shunting locos. It's really interesting. I've got, quite expensive, well, cheap compared to UK outline, but relatively expensive Kato locomotives that are good. But so far, I haven't found anything that shunts as well as these Kato pocket line locos, which is really interesting. So there we go, something a bit different. That's certainly not going to appeal to the sort of traditional UK outline model railway enthusiasts, but we seem to be picking up a bit of a following for freelance N-gauge. I'm quite taken with it. I couldn't do UK outline N-gauge. I couldn't afford the locos and rolling stock. I can buy new Kato locomotives, Japanese locomotives, for less than second-hand UK outline. I can buy new Kato wagons for half the cost of UK outline wagons. So for me, I like N, I like what it gives me the scope to do, and I like the reliability and cost of the Kato. Yeah, I'd like to have been able to do UK outline. It'd be great to do diesels and things like this, and I know they exist, but the few I've had simply do not run as well as the Kato, and they are far more expensive. So for me at the moment, this is what we're doing. Some of you will have noticed I'm selling off quite a lot of my 00 stock on eBay. If you like that sort of thing, if you don't mind using eBay, then go and have a little look. I'm under MPO-MICH is who I am on eBay. So I am selling off quite a bit of my sort of bits of O gauge, 00 gauge that I don't need to fund the N. So there we are. Little video. Thank you for all your support as always. Really appreciated all the nice comments on some of our recent videos, especially the rant one about the fact the model railway hobbies are growing, not dying. Thank you for the support on those. And I hope you're enjoying your model railways, and speak to you again soon.